You guys, I'm so excited that you guys joined me today. We've got a special guest, Joie Seldon, who is here with us today. Not only is she an author, but she's a professional actor. She's been an acting coach. She's joining us today to have a conversation with us about the tough stuff that we've found ourselves trapped in as we've tried to declutter and dehoard our homes. So please help me welcome Joie Seldon.
Mm.
Joie, how are you today?
I'm very good, thanks.
So I have a question now, and this goes back to acting because you've got the acting experience. And in acting, we know a lot about subtext.
Mhm.
Subtext is the stuff that we don't actually see.
Mhm.
It's kind of like when you walk into a room and there are two people that have been fighting,
Mhm.
and you just walked in and you have no idea that they were fighting, but you walk in and you're like, whoa,
Uh-huh.
something is going on here.
Right.
And then you ask them, how you doing? And they're like, we're fine.
Mhm.
You're like, no, that is a lie because I feel something is going on right now. Y'all are trying to trick me.
Yes, a subtext, and we are all working around with that all of the time. We have something like 40,000 thoughts a day, 90% of which are unconscious. So we have habitual ways of thinking. We have feelings that pop up and subtle. The more I got into my emotions, the more I realized these little subtle ones. Well, I know the big one when I'm really enraged, but what is that little tension that came in my body when somebody said something? And then we're all trying to be nice, especially women want to be nice, and we're not in touch with that subtle aspect of emotion. And again, because you don't want to express yourself when it's not safe to do so. But if you don't acknowledge the emotion, it's going to stick around and it can become physical ailment. So that subtext is really what's going on in the unconscious or subconscious mind. And that's why turning inward and befriending yourself, that little act of saying, oh, hello, is a way to develop an internal relationship with yourself. And ultimately, it brings more joy in your life.
Well, it's an interesting study because we have two sides of the fence. We have the clutterer and the hoarder
Mhm.
who wants to reach out to their family and they're ashamed to have their family come over because the family will see that their house is gross and it's
Mhm.
fallen apart.
Mhm.
And then we have the kid who wants to reattach with their parents, for example, or their siblings. And they're afraid to go in there because I don't want to step on their toes and I don't want to go in and spend all my time cleaning, but then they don't want me around because they're either abrupt with me or tell me to mind my own business or
Mhm.
whatever. So it's two different groups of people that both, I think they want the same thing,
Mm.
but neither of them know how to approach that. And there's this weird subtext in the middle that's really interrupting the progress that either side can make.
Yes, and that speaks to one of the biggest issues is about not communicating. We go through so much pain in our lives because we don't communicate. We're afraid to say something. And there are ways to speak to someone, setting your intention that what is it that you want out of this? Is it to judge or to criticize, or is it to help? Is it to reestablish a connection that might be lost? We all need connection. Joy is actually the emotion of connection. It's not just about happiness is a part of it, but when you're really connected to the truth of what you're experiencing, there's a kind of joy to that. And so when you have the disconnect with the family, and shame is a big one, and there's actually two types of shame. There's the healthy shame, which is remorse. I've done something that's hurt someone or gone against my own values or integrity, and I feel bad about that and I want to do something about that. That's a healthy experience of shame. But mostly what people experience is shame that is a belief that there's something wrong with me. And I think that can probably happen a lot in these situations of a person with a mess or a hoarding, that there's something wrong with me and they don't really want to look at that, understandably. But what I have found as a perfectionist, that was also my issue, as I believed there was something fundamentally wrong with me. And when I recognized that life is messy, no one's perfect, I'm not perfect, and I faced and felt that shame, it moved through me. It's difficult in those situations to just say, oh, well, I know you're feeling shame and you don't need to feel shame and blah, blah, blah. But it's to take little baby steps of telling the truth with your intention to connect, so that asking permission goes a long way. There's something I really want to say. There's some feelings I have, and it's not bad. Let me just preface that. It's not bad. It's just that I feel like there's something that's disconnected between us, and I would really like to share some things, and I wonder, is that okay with you?
And it's interesting you bring that up. I did not get along with my mother growing up.
Mm.
And when I was 22 years old, she came to visit me and she was pregnant the whole time that I grew up. I'm one of 19 kids and she was
Oh,
pregnant every single year of my life and I couldn't get away soon enough. And so as soon as I left, I
wow.
was gone. And then she came at me when I was 22 years old and she stopped being pregnant again. Like she'd had all the kids now. And she was like this amazing person that I never knew because like she was totally hormonal and weird and mean growing up. And she came and she said, "Hey, I wanna be your mom." I'm like, You already are my mom." And
Mhm.
it was that exact conversation that you just said. "I wanna have a conversation with you in a meaningful sort of way."
Mm.
And I was like, "What does that mean?" And she's like, "I'm not gonna tell you what to do anymore. You're an adult, but I wanna start over again, and I wanna erase the slate."
Wow.
"What? You don't get to go 22 years into my life, and then you're gonna erase the slate and start over again. What is up with that?" And she said, "Is it possible?" Well, I don't know. And I said, what would have to happen if that was the case? And she said, I would have to accept you as you are without trying to change you. And you would have to do the same for me. And I sat there dumbfounded, like, this is kind of a cool thought,
Wow.
but what a weird, bizarre conversation. Is that even possible? I'm going to have to erase the slate and start over. I'm like, I think we should give it a try. She said, I really want to invest in you. And I'm like, why? And she said, "Because you're my daughter." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I said, "I
Mm.
will invest in you, but I don't know what to invest." She lives 2,500 miles away. And this is back in the days when long distance phone calls were 65 cents a minute. And I said, "Okay, I
Yeah.
will invest in you too. I will call you every week and we will talk as long as you want to talk." And she said, "Okay." And
Wow.
that was 33 years ago. What's cool about that is my mom now is my best friend. And every week she's on my calendar, like, don't interrupt this hour of my life. I'm calling my mom and we're going to have a chitty chat
Wow.
on the phone. And what's really cool about that is I got to know her on a completely different level as
Mhm.
an adult. And even though I didn't always approve of the things she did,
Mhm.
I was looking at her now based on new rules that she set up. She said, I will just accept you as you are and I won't try to change you. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, let's give that a try, you know?
What a gift. Oh my god, if every parent did that, we'd have a different world altogether.
It changed my life
Yeah, sure.
because instead of me trying to, you know how kids do weird things in hopes of their parents' approval? I could stop doing weird things and I could just be myself
Mm.
and she would just accept me carte blanche as is.
Wow. That is fantastic. Whereas I left home at 18 after I graduated from high school, I never lived at home again. I was on my own. I kept mostly my mother at a distance. I would see them sometimes, but I would go years without actually seeing them physically. And in the end, when she got Alzheimer's, I was very shocked that actually became a healing because she forgot all the things that she was mad about.
Well, there are some toxic people. And my philosophy has been if you can't fix the situation, to limit your accessibility to those people that are just so negative. Every time you come in their space, it just brings you down.
Yeah, I agree with that. And even if it's your parent, you do not have to sacrifice your own life because of that.
Well, thank you so much. I am so excited that we had this conversation today.